this is Neil, and I'm partnering with the great HPC Today to bring you the Surfactant Insights Podcast. As many of you know, I like to use the tadpole model when describing surfactants. They've got a hydrophilic head and a hydrophobic tail. The tail weighs more than the head by around 2 or 3x. Those tails and heads include linear alkyl benzene, LAB, detergent range alcohols and ethoxylates, alpha olefins, methyl esters, sulfur trioxide, ethylene oxide, and amines. When looking at the feedstock origins of those most widely used heads and tails, I reckon about 58% of the surfactant market by weight is derived from petrochemical origins, 38% from oleochemicals, and the remaining 4% the ever-important other. Now, in the petrochemical group, the key starting points include benzene, jet kerosene, and ethylene, either from natural gas or naphtha. You also should not forget that the sulfur in sulfonates is a byproduct of petroleum refining, and the NH2 group in amines going into quartz and various amphoterics and amides comes via the Haber-Bosch process from natural gas. On the oleochemical side of the ledger, we're really talking a lot of palm kernel oil, which comprises 10% of the oil from a typical palm plantation. We've got a small amount of coconut oil and tiny amounts of other oils in there. Like many other chemicals, the biggest cost component of any surfactant is the raw material. Given the origins of key feedstocks that we just talked about, if you're involved in the making, buying, or selling of surfactants, you need to be in daily touch with the price of crude and palm kernel oil at the very least. Add to that natural gas if you're in North America. These are all available free of charge from many outlets. If you want to go deeper, and you certainly should if the economics of purchasing and marketing are a key part of your job, then a number of price reporting services provide regular pricing on most of the other heads and tails that I just mentioned, for a subscription fee, of course. However, just tracking oil, natural gas, and PKO, you'll get a good sense of the direction of the markets. Now look, I'm going to set aside tariffs for the time being, as that story is still evolving, and when the time comes, I may well bring in a specialist to discuss it. After raw materials for certain products, especially dried surfactants, energy can be an important cost component. And companies operating in high energy cost regions like Western Europe these days are only too painfully aware of this. Again, oil and gas prices are key. Other costs like labor and below-the-line costs like compliance, sales, R&D, and marketing for the large volume commodity surfactants are still much smaller than the cost of the raw materials. So, for those commodity surfactants like LAS and SLES, the pricing is generally moving in line largely with raw material costs and those big volume inputs. For specialty surfactants, that picture is slightly but not radically different. Specialties like lubricant additives or emulsion polymerization surfactants typically sell at higher gross margins, and pricing, frankly, is not as transparent in terms of a link to specific raw materials. Pricing varies less frequently in these specialties and over a smaller range than commodities. Here, the customer is paying for performance, and that's what the supplier is selling. The product is more of a vehicle, if that makes sense. Of course, there are other factors, or more accurately, events that can shift costs and prices quite substantially. These include, and I'm just picking some examples from recent history, pandemics, shipping route closures, war of both the shooting and trade varieties, terrorism, extreme weather, logistical imbalances. I think it's fair to say that since the pandemic in 2020, many companies concluded that they'd pushed the limits of globalization of supply chains and decided then to both spread their bets among countries and types of supply chain and to bring at least some portions of sourcing closer to the point of manufacture and to the point of consumption. That latter aim is also the stated aim of much of the recent tariff activity by the United States. Look, from my perspective, a balanced portfolio of feedstocks, oleo, petrol, and other, and I'm including their fermentation, biocatalytic, and nanoparticle technologies, that balance for your surfactant palette is key. As, of course, is a balanced supply chain, if possible, not over-dependent on one country or region of the world. Of course, you've got to do all this while meeting cost and performance requirements of your customers and earning a healthy profit for yourself. Hey, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. Well, they're not, and you are. And honestly, I've never seen a more interesting or exciting time to be doing it. If you've anything to add or ask, please, as always, get in touch. In the meantime, thanks again for listening.